as the draft went on, we really liked the player that kind of was sliding to our pick. I thought it was a bit of a unique draft. It was a little less predictable than most. And I felt at that point in time, if we were going to trade back, in consulting with Don Boyd and the scouts, that we could gain an asset. And, I was in conversations with, like always with many teams, but with regard to Jordan Spence, knowing what it would take to be able to get him, to acquire him, it lined up with the acquisition return that we got from trading back. So we were able to parlay that into a phone conversation with LA and being able to acquire Jordan Spence.
You've been kind of clear that you don't know Nick Jensen's timeline, but is this pretty good insurance? Not even insurance. I mean, you got a real good player here, right?
Yeah, no, we're excited about the player. 24 years old, mobile, smart, competitive. We're excited about the player, and anytime you get a chance to acquire a player like that, you start to look at it a little bit harder. As far as Nick, it doesn't change. I think that he continues to progress at a faster rate than most that have gone through this procedure. Really, I mean, depth on defense is important to teams, and especially on the right side, it's always harder to find right shot defensemen, it seems like. So this was something where we can continue to add to the depth throughout the organization.
It seems like that's a need too, because Carter Yakimchuk, also Logan Hensler.
Mm-hmm.
Was that something you were really targeting going into this draft, the right shot defenseman?
Yeah, not really. You watch your draft list sort of unfold, but this was a really good player that was sitting there with Hensler at our pick. If it's a toss-up between maybe a winger and a right shot defenseman, you'd probably lean towards that just because of the value and how hard it is to find. So it's part of the consideration.
And how long has Jordan Spence been on your radar for? Why was he a player you really wanted to go after? And I heard you requested a trade out of LA too.
Yeah, we try and monitor the league as it unfolds, and each team gets into certain situations, and you look to see if there's an opportunity with that group. It just so happened that with the depth that LA had grown in that area, that he became available, and we grew very interested in that, and so I think timing is everything, and in light of the draft and the acquisition costs and us being able to trade back, kind of all fell into line.
So knowing that this doesn't necessarily change anything with Nick Jensen, would you envision Jordan's role being on this team?
That'll be up to him and Travis. Obviously, he's a quality player, and how they're deployed, and and Travis says it all the time. They'll dictate on where they play or how much they play, but certainly he's a very good player. Honestly, haven't even thought about that part of it yet. With everything going on with the draft and leading into preparing for free agency, hasn't crossed my mind.
Do you have an update on Claude Giroux's negotiations?
I don't have an update. I'm hoping to hear back.
You drafted two goalies too, Lucas Beckman and Andrei Trofimov. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Was that in the thought of just making sure there's depth in this organization?
Again, an opportunity. Every draft's a little bit different, and I think that our scouts felt that there was quality in that area, and obviously later, and not a clear cut what we're going to do as far as drafting for position, but it was a long debate at this. It's the seventh round, but we're taking it seriously. I know it's late in the draft, and you feel like, but. There might not be a player that plays. The numbers would prove that, but certainly our guys were digging in on that with a few different thoughts, and the goaltending guys won.
Steve, just to cycle back on Spence, he's not the biggest player, crazy analytics, really good efficient zone exits, puck retrieval data, but again, not the biggest guy. Do you have enough size on your blue line? Are there any concerns about size there?
I guess it's always a question. I mean, even our guys that aren't that big play pretty damn hard for me. Like when I watch them play, and Jens isn't a big guy, and Spence isn't a big guy, but I feel comfortable when they're on the ice defending, And then, I guess it's always a question. I like the makeup of our D, especially with the addition of Spence. I like the depth. I like the competition. I like, I think that they're going to push each other to all be better.
How much is, Graham talked about his puck moving capabilities, like on the right side, he maybe didn't have as much as you'd like compared to obviously Sanderson and Chabon. Like, how much was that a priority for you in acquiring Spence?
It's an important part of the game, and it grows more important. Getting back for pucks and being able to get pucks up to to forwards on time. He's very good at that. Does that lead into 5-on-5 opportunities, scoring chances? We hope so. And it's not just on. I know I was talking about Fabian and Dylan Cousins, but I think the more players that you can add with that skill set to be able to bring those elements, you hope that the group sort of rises together.
We got time for maybe one or two more guys?
You mentioned just getting yourself prepared for free agency. Obviously, depending on what happens with Claude, that might affect how much space you go into July with. What is your game plan? Are you thinking of for free agency? Are you thinking more depth? Are you thinking more of a marquee guy? As much as you can say, like, what's your game plan for July?
Again, probably mostly depth, with some factors to still be resolved. But we'll look at opportunities. Like I don't honestly think I could have said to you a week ago that we would have an opportunity to acquire Jordan Spence at the draft. And these things sort of, once they come up, you got to be prepared, and again have the flexibility to be able to take advantage of a situation where you can add something to the group. So there's a lot of factors to it. As far as answering the question, everybody wants depth. We added some depth to our defense core. We'll look at some depth and any other opportunities that might come up.
You may be open to make another trade if it comes to that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's. I'm not saying that this is what I'm looking to do, but depending on how things unfold and the conversations that we have, any opportunity we have to improve our team, that's my job to seek those out and make sure that I have all the information.
You talked about.
Steve, when it comes to Tuesday, are you excited for that day in terms of, do you think there's going to be a lot of opportunities on Tuesday for you to improve the team, or is it just going to come maybe different parts of the summer?
I'm excited for the opportunity, but there are other opportunities maybe later in the summer, depending on how it happens. I think really you can get a little eager on July 1. You have players that you really like, and you got to be mindful and be prepared for all of that. I think I'm excited for it. I think another chance to look at our group as a whole and see what's out there that may fit into the group.
Take one more.
Yeah, what did you learn as a GM, I guess, from last year, your first free agency, that you can maybe translate into this year's?
Well, totally different year than last year, right? I mean, this week we acquired 4 players, and they're all returning. So maybe a little less work. Like we're more solid in those areas, and so probably looking to do a little bit less. When you go into it, it's just a different year. It is. And we got a good returning group that did take a step together. I'm mindful of that as well. I don't think that sometimes you can overthink things, and I believe in this group. They've proven that they play for one another, and they did take a good step forward as a group. So I'm certainly mindful of that.
One small housekeeping. Have Gannett and Forsberg informed you that they are
Going to test the market.
I won't go into that. I still got a little bit of time here before that. Yeah, go ahead. I got time.
It's been 20 years since the organization drafted a Russian player in Russia. How important is it for you in the front office to have a bigger footprint in overseas in Russia?
Yeah, look at the player, not the passport. I know there's a lot of things going on in the world. I think that we have to pick the player, and that's our job, is to find the talent, and so look at more of the player and not where they're from.
You know, we managed to get 2 goaltenders, managed to make a trade and get a player in Vanek that we really wanted to get. Yeah, last night was good.
Can we go through with you guys, the guys you took, like Hanser, obviously, we talked about last night, but starting Vanek, just what you guys like about him.
Go ahead, Dan.
There's a lot to like about him. He's a young kid, obviously. He's got an August birthday, so obviously close to next year's draft. There's a lot of runway with him. He's obviously comes from a hockey family with his dad, so there's that piece that we like. He's been around the game, knows the game well. Big body, 6'2.5", that still has a lot of room on that frame. Had a really unique experience this year of making a deep run in the Minnesota High School State Tournament, which is a really important experience for those kids in that area. And then dipped his toes into the USHL junior level, which he was really impressive. It's not easy to step into that league, especially at the end of the year. He's a powerful kid. Going to be a big man when he's all done. He competes, can shoot the puck. He scores in the dirty areas. So there's a lot to like about him. Like the path that he's going to take next year, going to Wenatchee. So yeah, we're excited. We made that move for a reason to get him.
I mean, this organization's never minded the bloodlines either, right? And just to follow up on that, I should have asked you about Hansler because I saw a lot of them too.
Yeah, I did. Same thing with Logan. Like he's an impressive kid. He's a two-way defenseman. Still young. It was really impressive, like for him as a young defenseman to step in to college hockey and specifically that league in the Big Ten. He was asked to play a significant role, big minutes. Thought he handled that extremely well for his age. Managed his game well, and we're excited about the upside. Next year, the coaches have a good plan for him. He's going to take on an even bigger role than he had this year, maybe more special teams, get time on the power play, penalty kill. So yeah, he's a tremendous kid, well liked by his teammates, well liked by the coaches. So plays right shot defenseman, which is those guys are hard to come by. So we're excited about him.
Where would you say in his offensive game, Logan has more room to grow?
Well, I think a lot of it is just opportunity. Growing up, he obviously was a guy that got those opportunities, but then he goes into the program and now into college. You kind of have to bide your time and earn those stripes. And he did play some power play this year, and the expectation is that he's going to take a bigger step in that role and get the opportunity to run their top power play. But yeah, we believe there's a lot more there in terms of his offense.
What do you guys like out of, not to make you guys run through every prospect, but I might end up having you do that.
Yeah.
Luke, what do you guys like out of Lucas Beckman, the goalie out of the Q?
Well, he was a 17-year-old that took over the team basically and carried it 52 or 54 games. That doesn't happen a lot of times with a young goaltender. His numbers were significant. Save percentage, goals against. He's a character kid, a little bit funny. He's got. I think he's got his head about him. He's got some size. He's competitive. But most of all, he's a young kid that's 17-year-old and took over the net and ran with it and did quite a good job of it. The numbers show that. He's not flappable in any way. He's calm and he understands his game. He's going to be easy to coach for our people, development people, and he's got 2 more years in junior hockey, and he played 52 games this year, so he won't play any less.
Just a specific one about him. Were you surprised that he was still on the board when it came to the, I think, 4th round?
We were surprised when Schaefer was still on the board. No. I mean, we had a list of goaltenders, and it all fell into place. You know, our goaltending development group and PD helping from the NHL side is a tremendous boost for us. It's a support system for us. And you know, Zach Burke took on a role this year and traveled and did some development stuff for us and did a lot of work. They put hours in on this, and they put a list together. And we trust and go with that list. And you know, no, we weren't surprised he was there. Just the way things were falling, you know, we thought that. The only thing is that if a run on goaltenders had have started earlier, you know, other than the first couple, like first, you know, Ravensbergen and even we're looking at, you know, Frolov and those at that level. If it had started earlier, then the run would have started, and then you either take a goaltender or you don't. So, you know, and then the other goaltender, Trofimov, out of Russia, out of Magnitogorsk. Again, he's a kid he's a year older. He's an 06, but again, he put up tremendous numbers. He only played 29 games, but his numbers were real good, and we have some contacts there that he came highly recommended. So, and Petey and Zach, they couldn't talk about him enough to us. So that decision was made right at the end of the draft. And, you know, he was still there, and he was higher up on our list than goaltenders than it probably shouldn't have been there. But based on the list, not necessarily based on what other teams think. I mean, I'm not wondering what they're thinking. Based on our list, you'd be wondering why he was still there.
Don, this organization hadn't taken Russian players for a long time. You took, I think, I don't know how you say it, Asayev.
Yeah.
What do you know about him? And I just asked Steve if you have scouts in Russia, and he said no, you do a lot by video. But kind of the take on how you came to that decision.
Well, number one, we do a lot of work on film. Isayev is a smaller player, but surprisingly enough, I know you look at the numbers, and he had 2 goals, and his point totals weren't very good. But this kid is a competitor. He's got speed. He does have skill. He makes the play. I think that there's a lot more there for a kid like that. So for us, it was important that we did that. We could have went another, couple of other ways, but we chose not to. We think there's more there. We think there's a chance for him to be a player down the road. So he's a smaller player. We spoke with him. We did interview process with him twice. We have an interpreter in Russia that does help us out a significant amount, and the interviews were good. He's a bright-eyed kid that and he wants to come over here. So hopefully our belief that there's numbers in him will come to fruition.
What were your impressions of your team's goaltending pipeline and prospects already in the system, and how does that change after the 2 goalies you selected today?
Well, it all takes time, and goaltenders take longer than anything else. So we have to fill the coffers. We have to have every team in the league has 5 or 6 goaltenders. We have to be able to have a team where we can develop. Not everybody's going to play here forever. So I think the other night you asked about not picking a goaltender, in the last year or last 2 years, and that was true. Normally we did that in the past. It was by design that we were going to get 1 goaltender for sure this year, or at least we would have hoped to. It didn't have to be, but it didn't have to be last year either, and we didn't. So, goaltenders are goaltenders that you think have a chance to play, think have a chance to be organizational people. when you get that opportunity, you take them.
What can you tell us about Bruno Itzan, your 6th round pick?
Yeah.
Well, he's certainly taken an interesting path. I think he's the first Croatian ever to be picked in the NHL draft, so that in itself says a lot. He comes from a really tight, hardworking family that all work at the same place. I think they own some type of store together. And you see that work ethic when you watch him play. That's the first thing that stands out. He's got a motor. He has energy. He's a goal scorer. He came into the USHL by chance with a strange connection through the coach there. That's how we ended up in Lincoln. And like I said, sort of with Hensler's situation stepping into the Big Ten, it's very difficult to step into the USHL, especially mid-season, and have the success that he did, the production that he did, the goal scoring. I think he finished in the top 3 in the league, points per game, if I'm not mistaken. So that just shows that he's an offensive guy. He's able to score. He was really impressive on their power play. He was involved in their offense. Like, he was one of the drivers. And, he's an older kid. He's an 06, maybe a little bit of a late bloomer in that regard. And he's going to step into the University of Wisconsin next year, and he expects in our talks with him to play an offensive role there as well. So, interesting path, but there's a goal scoring touch there that's hard to pass up on.
Can I ask you about Javon Moore? You followed the same path. Well, Blake Vanner, they each followed the same path. Can you maybe describe his season this season, because he's now going to go off to university?
Javon Moore?
Yes.
Yeah, Javon took a big step this year. Again, I've talked about the steps of like a Minnesota high school kid stepping into the USHL. That's a difficult transition. And he did it pretty well. He had his learning curve early in the year, but his role continually progressed as the season went on. He earned the trust of the coaches. It wasn't just given to him. He had to earn it. And, he's a big, huge kid that's still developing physically. He's going to be a horse when he's fully developed, when he becomes a man. So we're extremely excited about him. He grew in confidence as the season went on. He started to understand how big he is and the things he can do out there. And he's going to go into the University of Minnesota, and it's going to be another step for him in his path, and we're looking forward to him taking that next step.
Is Wisconsin going to be your new North Dakota?
That was mentioned today in the room.
We have 4 guys?
Yeah, currently 4. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it's not necessarily by design. Sometimes it just happens that way. We drafted Blake last year, and we had a target on Logan Hensler all year long, and that just sort of happens by chance that they're going to the same place. And same thing with Bruno. It wasn't okay, this kid's committed to the University of Wisconsin. It's nice. We have trust in their coaches there, certainly, and it's a very good league to play in. But I guess it helps our development staff when they go to watch. They can handle 4 guys with 1 trip, so that's a convenience factor for sure.
What's that?